Hello students, welcome to Prime Time by CivicCentre IAS. Today we'll be covering geography current affairs and the places in news in the week of 8 to 14 September 2025. So we have four topics in brief and the topic of importance of this week is Bairabi Sairang Railway Line. So let's go into the topics. So the first one is the vanishing practice of the Apatanis. So we'll see what is the vanishing practice and also discuss the Apatanis tribe. So the second one is avalanche in the Siachen base camp, and the third one is the freshwater aquifers, and the fourth one is Himachal Pradesh, which is recently declared as a fully literate state. And the topic of importance is the Bairabi Sairang railway line of the Mizoram state. So the places in news are the Red Sea, Caribbean region, Huangyan Island, Philippine island of Pugad, Congo River, and Nepal. So let's go into the topics. So the first one is vanishing practice of the Apatanis. So in the Zero Valley of the Arunachal Pradesh, the older women used to practice this tradition of the facial tattoos and the wooden nose plugs. And after, the government has banned this type of tradition in the 1970s, but still elderly women are still practicing this tradition. So discussing about the Apatani tribe, so it is in Zero Valley. It is a bowl-shaped valley in the Arunachal Pradesh. They speak Tani language and also worship the sun and the god. They are known for the practice of the fish and the paddy culture. Okay, they also do the occupation is also the bamboo crafts. They have an extensive knowledge on the herbal remedies. So going further, so if we see the tradition, the vanishing tradition of the Apatani tribe is the facial tattoos and the nose plugs. So in this picture reference, you can see the facial tattoos and the wooden nose plugs. So it began as a protection against abduction. That is, the Apatani women and the girl child used to be abducted by the Britishers and the invaders. So the Apatani men came up with the idea of the tattoos and the wooden nose plugs with the intention of making their women appear less attractive to the invaders. And later, it was evolved as a symbol of beauty and the cultural identity. So in the picture, you can see the wooden nose plugs. So the wooden nose plugs are also called as a yapping hulu. Okay. And the tattoos called tipe. Okay, so these are done by an elderly woman when an Apatani girl is 10 years old. So if we see the tattoo of the Apatani tribe, there is a vertical line from the forehead down to the tip of the nose. And there are also the 5 lines tattooed on the chin. So it is considered as the honorable, protecting the family dignity and also custodian of the traditions. Okay, the government has banned this tradition in the 1970s for the difficulty in the job seeking opportunity. So going further, the 3 army personnel including 2 Agniveers had lost their lives during a major avalanche at the Siachen base camp in the Ladakh. Okay, so if we see about the Siachen glacier, so it is in the Indian Union Territory, Ladakh. It has an elevation of 18,000 feet and stretches over 76 kilometers, making it as a world's highest battleground. So if we see the temperature in the Siachen glacier, it is almost minus 60 degrees centigrade. Okay. And it also monitors the Gilgit-Baltistan region and the Aksai Chin. Going further, so if we discuss about the Siachen base camp, it is in the Nubra Valley of Ladakh. So this has an altitude of 12,000 feet. So the function of the Siachen base camp is that it is used as a launch pad for the Indian Army operations in the glacier. So if you see what is an avalanche, avalanche is a sudden or rapid movement of the snow, ice or rocks down a mountain slopes. So here 2 types of forces act on the avalanche. So the first one is the natural force. The first one is the natural force such as the wind and the earthquake. Wind and the earthquake. Okay. And the next one is the anthropogenic force such as skying and the trekking. And the Indian Army has started using the Swedish avalanche rescue since 2022 to improve the survival chances. So going further into the next topic in brief, that is the freshwater aquifers. So recently, freshwater aquifers has found beneath the Atlantic Ocean floor, stretching from the New Jersey to the Maine. So if we see the location of this aquifer, it is the offshore northern eastern United States. And how it is formed? డ్యూరింగ్ ది ఐస్ ఏజ్ టైంలో సముద్ర మట్టం అనేది చాలా తక్కువగా ఉండేది. సో అప్పుడు ఫ్రెష్ వాటర్ సెడిమెంట్స్ లో ట్రాప్ అవ్వడం జరిగింది. సో ఇక్కడ ఇఫ్ ద ఫ్రెష్ వాటర్ ఆక్విఫర్స్ ఆర్ బీన్ సస్టైనబుల్లీ మేనేజ్డ్, దిస్ ఫ్రెష్ వాటర్ ఆక్విఫర్ కుడ్ సప్లై అ న్యూయార్క్ సైజ్డ్ మెట్రోపాలిస్ ఫర్ ద centuries. And the advanced tools used for these aquifers are the electromagnetic imaging and the core sampling. So going further, so the possible origins of the fresh water is, the first one is the glacial meltwater. As we discussed earlier, during ice age, fresh water అనేది sediments లో trap అయింది. So that is the glacial meltwater hypothesis. So secondly is the connected aquifer hypothesis. That is, it is the modern terrestrial groundwater. And the significance of this discovery is, the first one is the water availability, that it could provide the drinking water availability to the millions of peoples for the decades. And the second one is the climate change resilience, that is, it offers the options of the coastal aquifers. So this can be explained with the example Cape Town's Day Zero crisis in 2018. Okay, Day Zero అనేది Cape Town, which is a southernmost city of the South Africa. So on 12th April 2018 లో డే జీరో అనేది సౌత్ ఆఫ్రికాలోని కేప్ టౌన్ అనే నగరంలో త్రాగునీటి కొరత కారణంగా మున్సిపల్ వాటర్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో అవి నిలిపివేయబోతున్నట్లు గవర్నమెంట్ అనౌన్స్ చేసింది. సో ద పీపుల్ వుడ్ హ్యావ్ టు కలెక్ట్ ద వాటర్ ఫ్రమ్ ద పబ్లిక్ స్టేషన్స్, దట్స్ ద 25 లీటర్స్ పర్ పర్సన్ పర్ డే అనేది అనౌన్స్ చేశారు. So thirdly is the scientific impact. That is a systematic drilling of the offshore fresh water for mapping and salinity profiling. Going further into the next topic in brief, that is the Himachal Pradesh, a fully literate state. So Himachal Pradesh was recently declared as a fully literate state, becoming the fifth state or union territory after the Mizoram, Goa, Ladakh and Tripura. So here a state or union territory earns a fully functional literate tag if it records 95% or more literacy among the people aged 15 plus who missed their former schooling. So if we see the definition of the full literacy according to the Ministry of Education, that it is a state or union territory is considered a fully literate at 95% literacy state. The Himachal Pradesh was recently declared as a fully literate under the ULAS, that is Now Bharat Saksharata Karikram, which is a centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, so the states and the union territories with fully functional literacy are the Mizoram, Goa, Ladakh, and Tripura. Okay, going further. So if you see the topic of importance, that is, it is a Bairabi Sairang Railway Line. So recently, our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi had inaugurated the first railway line of Mizoram's, that it provides a significant boost to the state's connectivity. So if we see in the picture, the construction began in the 2015. There are 4 stations in this rail line, and also it is a broad gauge project. So going into the further details, so it is the most important railway project in the India's history. Secondly, it has a 45 tunnels, 55 major bridges and 88 minor bridges and the 10 underpasses. Okay. So in the area called the Sairang, there is a taller spear bridge, that is, it is taller than the Qutub Minar. Okay. These stations connect the remote communities and also improve the accessibility such as the education, healthcare and the markets. And fifthly, it enhances the connectivity between the Mizoram and the rest of the India. So after Guwahati, Agartala and the Itanagar, the Mizoram's capital Aizawl is the fourth northeastern capital with a direct rail access. And the impact of the Mizoram is that it boosts the tourism, employment and the regional trade. And also it symbolizes the India's Act East policy in action. If we also see the location of the Mizoram, So in this map, you can see that it is situated in the northeast region of India, and it borders that. It has an international borders of Myanmar and Bangladesh, and it also has the domestic borders with the Assam, Manipur, and Tripura. The highest peak of the Mizoram is the Blue Mountain, and it has a climate of the subtropical climate. The major tribes of this Mizoram is the Lushai, Ralte, Pavi, and the Chakma. So going further, so if we see the places in news, the first one is the Red Sea. So recently there is an underwater cable cuts in the Red Sea which disrupted the internet connectivity in the parts of Asia and the Middle East. So if we see the location of the Red Sea, it is a narrow inlet of the Indian Ocean, and it stretches over the Egypt Suez Canal to the Babel of Mandeb. So this is the Babel of Mandeb, which connects to the Gulf of Eden to the Arabian Sea, and it separates the Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. And the Red Sea is very salty due to the evaporation, due to the high evaporation and the minimal freshwater inflow. Okay, so it has a strategic maritime corridor, and also it has a busiest shipping lanes. Going further into the next topic is the Caribbean region. The United States have deployed the F-35 fighter jets and the naval warships and the thousands of marine into the southern Caribbean region amid tensions with the Venezuela. So if we see the location of the Caribbean region, it is in the Western Hemisphere, and it is also called as the West Indies. Okay. It is divided into the Great Antilles and the Lesser Antilles and the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos. So if we see the islands of the Great Antilles, it is the Cuba and the Hispaniola and the Jamaica and the Puerto Rico. And the Lesser Antilles, it is divided into Leeward and the Windward Islands. And the Bahamas, Turks, and the Caicos are the third division of these Caribbean islands. And the Caribbean plate is bordered by, I repeat, and the Caribbean plate is bordered by the tectonic boundaries that causes the volcanic activity, earthquakes, and mountain formation. And it also has the tropical climate, and it is very rich in the biodiversity. Going into the further places in news is the Huangyan Island. So recently South China Sealo Huangyan Island అని ఉంది. So ఈ Huangyan Island పైన China has announced the creation of the National Nature Reserve. Okay, going into the further details. So if we see the location of the Huangyan Island, it is also called as a Scarborough Shoal or the Panatang Shoal. So this is the Scarborough Shoal. Okay, and it is situated in the South China Sea, and it is a triangular shape atoll which is very rich in the marine biodiversity. So going into the next places in news, that is the Philippine island of the Pugad. According to a study led by the geologist, the parts of province are sinking at a rate of 11 centimeter per year, which is the fastest of the Philippines. Okay, if we see the location of the Philippine island of the Pugad, it is situated in the Manila Bay, and it stretches over 7 hectares, and it is very densely populated island. It is very densely populated island. And the important point is that the altitude of the Pugad island is 4.7 meters above the sea level, making it highly vulnerable to flooding and sea level rise. Okay, so the occupation found in this island is the fishing and the aquaculture. So going for the next topic is the Congo River. So recently, a whale boat had caught fire and was capsized on the Congo River in the Western Democratic Republic of Congo. So if you see the location of the Congo River, it is the second longest river in the Africa, and it is the deepest river in the world. The source of the Congo River is the Chambeshi River, and it empties into the Atlantic Ocean. So the Congo basin stretches over the 9 countries, and it is also vital for the navigation and trade. And the important point from the prelims perspective is that the Congo River crosses the equator twice. Okay, going into the further places in news is the Nepal. So the Nepal's president Ramchandra has appealed for the peaceful dialogue amid the ongoing Gen Z protest triggered by the political unrest following the KP Sharma Oli's resignation. So if we see the location of the Nepal, the capital of the Nepal is the Kathmandu, and it borders China on the north and India on south, east, and west. Okay, and it includes the Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, and the Annapurna Mountains. And it has a subtropical terrain to the alpine Himalayan conditions. And the major rivers observed in the Nepal region is the Kosi, Narayana, that we call Gandak in India, and the Karnali. And the Nepal region is very prone to the earth, that is, it is on the border between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate. So if we see the previous year's questions, so the first question was appeared in the 2014. So the first question says that consider the following pairs given are the tribe and the state. So the first one is Limbu paired with Sikkim, Karbi paired with Himachal Pradesh, Dongaria Kon paired with Odisha, and Bonda paired with Tamil Nadu. So the question here says which of the above pairs are correctly matched. So the first option 1 and 3 are correct. That is the Limbu, which is paired with the Sikkim, is correct, and the Karbi, which is paired with Himachal Pradesh, is the correct answer. So going into the next question, this question appeared in the year 2021. So the question given here is, with the reference to the water on the planet Earth, consider the following statements. So the first statement is, the amount of water in the river and lakes is more than the amount of groundwater. And the second statement is that the amount of water in polar ice caps and the glacier is more than the amount of groundwater. And which of the statement given here and which of the statements given above is or are correct? That the amount of water in polar ice caps and the glacier is more than the amount of ground. So going into the next previous year question, which is been observed in the 2017. What is the aim of the program of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan? So among the given option B is correct. Connecting institutions with higher education with local communities to address the development through proper technologies is the right answer. So going into the further previous year questions. So this question was observed in the year 2020. So the pairs given here are the Mekong River flows into the Andaman Sea, Thames River flows into the Irish Sea, Volga River flows into the Caspian Sea, and the Zambezi River flowing into the Arabian Sea. So which of the pairs given above is or are correctly matched? So among the given options, option C, 3 and 4 only is the correct answer. So the Mekong River flows into the South China Sea and the Thames River flows into the North Sea. So here the Volga River flows into the Caspian Sea and the Zambezi River flows into the Indian Ocean. And the next previous year's question, which observed in the year 2025, is the Lake Tanganyika and the Lake Tonle Sap and the Patus Lagoon. Through how many of them does the equator pass? So among the given options, option D is the correct answer. So going into the mains question, this is observed in the year 2021 and the question is that differentiate the causes between the landslides of the Himalayan region and the Western Ghats. So the aspects needs to be addressed in this question is that the first is the introduction. You can either define the definition of the island and also connect with the current affairs. And the second one is that the సో ఇక్కడ కీవర్డ్ డిఫరెన్షియేట్ అన్నారు కాబట్టి రైట్ ద కాజెస్ ఆఫ్ ల్యాండ్ స్లైడ్స్ ఇన్ ద హిమాలయన్ రీజియన్ అండ్ ద వెస్టర్న్ ఘాట్స్ write the differences, not the similarities. So, in the conclusion, you can write the region specific strategies and regulated development and the early warning systems. So, send your answers to response@civiccentre.in. We will be evaluating your answers as well. I hope you understood all the topics. Thank you. Jai Hind.